We have some pretty important updates to talk about on today's episode of the Rams Digest. We're going to hear from Cooper Kupp himself, what he has to say about his current situation, as well as some updates that I find very, very interesting in terms of how the Rams are handling the situation. We're also going to discuss Joey Bosa to the Rams, how we feel about that, and kind of test the waters on to see if there's any kind of rumors towards that happening. We're also going to talk about some news around the NFL and much more on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron. Remember, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, press that subscribe button now, as 68.9% of you guys are watching the videos but still not subscribed to the channel. Do me a favor, press that subscribe button now so you don't miss any daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. First things first, I do want to get into this first story here as Cooper Kupp, he officially opens up about his situation with the Rams. And in all honesty, I didn't really expect him to open up in this fashion. There's kind of like a full article online from the Los Angeles Times, and we'll actually give a shout out to the guy who wrote it. Shout out to Sam Farmer, as he's a staff writer with the Los Angeles Times, and it's a full article breaking down Cooper Kupp, kind of his full feelings about it. I highly recommend you guys go check it out to kind of get more. It's a lot of many quotes we could have pulled here, but I did want to kind of start us off by talking about the important keys that I kind of noted. And one thing to start off with the article saying is it initially says what Cooper Kupp is saying about how he was. Basically, the trade was brought to the table from his perspective. And he says he walked into Sean McVay's office and he said, "We're going to trade you." Now, there may have been some other things said in between those words, but as simple as that, Sean McVay straight up told him, "We're going to trade you." And so you see here, Cooper Kupp says, "I asked if there were any other thoughts on ways to move forward. Were there any other options to figure things out?" And he said, "No, this is the way they wanted to go." I do want to note that Sean McVay reportedly says they wanted to go, because Sean McVay, it sounds like he's saying no. They, as in the front office. Sean McVay, yes, he is obviously working hand in hand with Snead on building this roster, but it sounds like people higher up than Sean McVay, they kind of wanted to go this route. It was officially done. They're set in stone and set in their ways. They're moving on from Cooper Kupp, and I find that very, very interesting. Cooper Kupp is saying, at least from his perspective, he asked Sean McVay, "There's no way we can work this out." And like I said before in a previous episode, if you guys don't remember, I actually said Cooper Kupp, the rumors, the stories are that Cooper Kupp and the front office did not discuss a contract restructure at all. And that was kind of the only way that I can see Cooper Kupp staying with the Los Angeles Rams, whether that was a contract extension or a huge contract restructure. But overall, that was not brought to the table from Cooper Kupp's side of things. And so he was even saying now, Sean McVay said, "We're trading you. That's what they want. There's nothing we can do about it." And that seems kind of very intriguing in my opinion. Like, is there something that went wrong? Did Cooper Kupp do something wrong to make the Rams front office want to just completely move on from him no matter what? I mean, yes, I know he tapered off in terms of production. And yes, I know he expressed some frustrations from not getting the ball that much last season, but I don't know. It just feels kind of weird for the Rams to be so adamant about trading Cooper Kupp. You're already keeping Matthew Stafford, a 37-year-old quarterback who has a great relationship with Cooper Kupp. Why not try a little bit harder to figure out a way to keep Cooper Kupp? If Kupp is mad and angry and doesn't want to be here, then fine. I can understand why you'd want to trade him in that situation, but I don't really understand being so adamant about trading him. Again, I'm not really opposed to trading Cooper Kupp. I just kind of find this very, very interesting. So we continue in the article, and Cooper Kupp says, "In that moment, I made a decision that I didn't want this to be a bitter thing in terms of our ending here." He said, "I tried to keep it as positive as possible and just be forward thinking about how to walk out of there and be able to shake each other's hands and move forward." We did that. And as time has gone on, I've had to deal with all the frustration, anger, sadness, all these things that as a human you process, having to say goodbye to people and know that that door is closed. That's been tough to walk through as the weeks have gone by. Now, again, I do want to kind of encourage anyone here who's interested, go look at the Los Angeles Times article by Sam Farmer. I want to make sure I get his name right. Yeah, Sam Farmer. Go look at the article from Los Angeles Times. I want you guys to kind of get a detailed account of what Cooper Kupp is saying. He has many, many quotes. Just a very long article. The entire article is dedicated to Cooper Kupp and how he feels about moving on from the Rams. So if you guys really want to hear his true, full thoughts, go ahead and read the article. But ultimately, the breakdown is this. Cooper Kupp is not happy about leaving. He is sad about leaving. He had to be the bigger man and kind of be the one to say, "You know what? We're not going to make this a bitter ending. I'll be grown up. I'll be mature. I'll be professional. We'll move on in a professional manner, and I'll shake the hands of the people who are trading me." But overall, he has dealt with frustration, sadness, anger, right? Why are they just moving on from him and not giving him any opportunity to stay? It just seems very, very interesting. We talked about this with Kelly Stafford as well, right? When Kelly Stafford talked about wanting to, maybe being ready ready to move on from the Matthew Stafford perspective. Why wouldn't she have that perspective? She's very close, I'm sure, with Cooper Kupp and his family. And so why wouldn't she have that perspective, hearing that this is the way the Rams are handling Cooper Kupp? Then how would you not be offended, a little angry, or a little slighted by the fact that they may do this also to Matthew Stafford, right, and her family? So that kind of all is starting to make a little bit more sense now. And so overall, I don't want to go too deep into this. I just kind of want to acknowledge that, you know what, the fact of the matter is, it sounds like the Rams just were hell-bent on moving on from Cooper Kupp for whatever reason. They felt this is the best route for both sides. I can understand it to an extent, but I also am a little bit confused by the way the Rams are so adamant about trading him. So let me know how you guys feel about the situation in the comments down below. But that is the update from Cooper Kupp's perspective. Again, I highly encourage you to read the article from Los Angeles Times from Sam Farmer if you want to read some more details on that. Moving on from that, we'll talk about around the NFL. What's going on around the NFL? Some interesting key notes that I think that are important for Rams fans to kind of hear and kind of be updated on. Around the NFL, though, speaking of just news in general, right? Geno Smith, he's headed to the Raiders, so the fallout has been dramatic, right? The Seahawks turned their attention to Sam Darnold, which means the Vikings and Darnold era is likely over as they turn their eyes from Sam Darnold to Daniel Jones. So Daniel Jones now obviously has options at quarterback. He could stay with Minnesota as he signed with them as a backup during the playoffs. But overall, Daniel Jones, is he going to be the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, or at least the backup, kind of battling with J.J. McCarthy over there in Minnesota? Or is he going to go join the Indianapolis Colts, kind of be a competition for their quarterback, Anthony Richardson, who's been struggling over the last couple years? Very intriguing for Daniel Jones. And that whole perspective, I'm not saying it's big news for the Rams, but from the Rams' perspective, you're looking at Seattle probably signing Sam Darnold. We talked about Sam Darnold, or just in general, the Seattle Seahawks, once they traded Geno Smith, going to trade DK Metcalf soon, release Tyler Lockett. They are in full rebuild mode, but then they're going to bring in a quarterback like Sam Darnold, who has proven to be able to win some games in the NFL, right? Had a pretty good season last year. If he continues on that, they may be a headache, a quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams have to deal with within the division. I get it. Not that many Rams fans are afraid of Sam Darnold, but something to note, Sam Darnold may find his way in the Seattle Seahawks uniform. We're also talking about Aaron Rodgers. He's still looking around, looking for a place to play. Is it going to be the New York Giants? We'll have to see about that. It seems most likely that it would be a place like New York, though. Justin Fields has a strong market as the Steelers work to re-sign him, but the Jets and others have interest. Again, a team that I think that should have interest in Justin Fields, Los Angeles Rams themselves. I don't know if Fields wants to be a backup again next season, but I think it'd be a good opportunity for him to learn the system, learn behind Matthew Stafford, and eventually take over at quarterback in Los Angeles. Doesn't look like that will be the case, though, as he has a lot of teams very interested in his services. So, very, very interesting in terms of the quarterback market, specifically in Seattle. May have a new quarterback in Sam Darnold moving forward. So not something to be afraid of, but something to kind of note is all I'm kind of saying. Moving on from that, we have anyone who was interested in a tight end, Mike Gesicki. He is now staying with the Bengals. So no more Mike Gesicki dreams for anyone who was dreaming about getting Mike Gesicki, as he signed a 3-year, $25 million contract. That's kind of fine and intriguing. That's also intriguing when we're talking about Evan Ingram. I was saying maybe signing Evan Ingram. Well, the Pro Bowler may be asking for a pretty hefty payday if the Bengals are signing Mike Gesicki, who had a pretty solid season, but also was up and down in terms of last season statistically. He signed a 3-year, $25 million contract, a little bit of a hefty price tag. You're probably looking at something around that if you're going to sign a guy like Evan Ingram, or maybe a little cheaper, maybe a little more money. We'll have to see about that, but I think I would assume a little bit more money than that. If you're Evan Ingram and you're his agent, why wouldn't you ask for more than what Mike Gesicki got? Moving on from that, last but not least, we'll talk about this story here before we get into the trivia of the day. Should the Rams get Joey Bosa before the 49ers do? Joey Bosa is already connected to the 49ers, but the Rams could drive up his price. So I think the Rams should definitely make a call to Joey Bosa and his team to really see about what would it take to get Joey Bosa in the room here in Los Angeles for the Rams. I get it. A lot of people, again, when we're talking about edge rushers, outside linebackers, a lot of people have already stated that the Rams are pretty good at pass rush. One, I have to kind of remind you, there's never enough pass rushers in the NFL. Say, for example, a Byron Young twist an ankle, is out for a game or two. Knock on wood, it doesn't happen. Now you're only left with 2 guys. So when you have to rotate your backups, and you're not, all of a sudden, you're not as dynamic. If you have 4 good, really good pass rushers, not to mention Joey Bosa being a pretty solid run stopper in his own right, again, that just adds to your versatility on the defensive line. I would not be opposed to the Rams bringing in a Joey Bosa. You guys, let me know how you guys feel about this this situation all in all. And we'll talk about what is he kind of looking at contract-wise, right? Bosa, when he was released from the Chargers, he was scheduled to be on a second season of a 2-year, $40 million contract. Again, he had signed initially a 5-year, $135 million contract back in 2020. So he was going to be due $12.36 million of a roster bonus on March 12th. So I would assume, right, if you're Joey Bosa, you're expecting that $12 million to hit your account next week. Well, maybe you might want to look for at least the bare minimum being about that $12 million mark for your contract. Remember, guys, Joey Bosa is actually 29 years old, so he's very young still. If his team wants to argue he's still one of the best pass rushers in the league, then obviously he can kind of demand a little bit more money. And the 49ers are in a situation where they're already paying a lot of different names, a lot of different guys. They may have to pay Brock Purdy pretty soon. So yes, as much as I'm sure Joey Bosa, his family, and Nick Bosa, they've all discussed the possibility of the Bosa bros. Here is Joey Bosa's mom, by the way, posting on Instagram, both the brothers playing alongside each other in San Francisco. As much as that's happening and that conversation is going on in San Francisco, I do think it's a key point here. If the Rams, like it's stated in the article here, if the Rams target Joey Bosa, even just offer to pay him a certain amount of money that the 49ers maybe can't afford, you would drive the price up. One, possibly steal Joey Bosa from the Niners, but two, possibly just kind of bring that price up so you're not seeing Joey Bosa sign for a really cheap contract to go play with his brother in San Francisco. We'll have to see if that's a possibility, but just kind of an idea. I think if I'm the Rams, I'm gaining some interest in that situation. In terms of what's actually happening on the ground, the Rams are not listed as a super big favorite to land Joey Bosa. The numbers aren't saying Joey Bosa is going to be in Los Angeles playing for the Rams, so all fingers are pointing to him probably ending up somewhere like San Francisco. I think the Rams should get in and call just to kind of gauge some interest, but I'm not sure the Rams are super interested right now at this time to sign a big-time edge rusher like Joey Bosa, in my opinion. They may not be interested in that. So, moving on from that, last but not least, trivia of the day. We'll talk about it. If you guys have never played trivia of the day here at the Rams Digest, I'll play along with you guys right now. We can actually show you what the last trivia of the day was. It was a very interesting question that I think is kind of almost a trick question. Here was last episode's trivia of the day. The fastest score at the start of an NFL game, since the scoreboard clock became official, came in 2003 when Cowboys' Randall Williams turned an Eagles onside kick into a touchdown in how many seconds? So we asked that question here. That was the trivia of the day for the last episode. If you guys missed it, don't worry about it. But for those who guessed, the multiple choice options were, was it A, returned in 3 seconds? Was it B, 6 seconds, C, 9 seconds, or D, 12 seconds? Here were the guesses of that trivia of the day. We had TJ Gregory saying 6 seconds. We had Floyd saying 6 seconds, question mark. Again, I appreciate Floyd putting the question mark, saying that I don't really know what the answer is. I appreciate the guesses. Soy says 9 seconds sounds about right. And Robert Peterson says fastest score, 12 seconds, right? And if you really think about it, physically, how is that even possible for someone to score in less than 6 seconds? I think it's not really physically possible for the player to get there. It is a little bit of a trick question. I did look up this play, and we'll talk about it right now in a second, but the answer, everyone on this list was actually incorrect. I appreciate all of your guesses. I appreciate you guys not looking this up and guessing honestly. The answer was A, 3 seconds. Go watch the video, fastest score in the NFL. It's kind of a trick question because physically it's not possible for a player to run from one side of to the end right in 3 seconds. The clock doesn't start for about 1.5, maybe 2 seconds when Randall Williams catches the onside kick. I think the clock worker, whoever's managing the clock, clearly didn't even see that he catches the ball. So about 1.5, maybe 2 seconds, you can argue. It goes off does not go off the clock while he maintains the possession of the ball, and then he runs it back within 2-3 seconds. So I think the real honest answer was 4 to 5 seconds. I counted it in my own head. Once you see him catch the ball, I kind of did a 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi kind of thing. I count about 4 to 5 seconds. So a little bit of a cheat code, but technically, officially on the NFL official clock, only 3 seconds ticked off the clock. So kind of a trick question, but I appreciate all you guys for guessing and playing along. If you guys want to play along on today's trivia of the day, let's play along right here, right now, as today's trivia of the day is as such. What NFL defensive back's father, George, was a first-round draft pick of the Giants in 1985? Which of these defensive backs' father, named George, was a first-round pick for the Giants back in 1985? Was it A, Earl Thomas? Was it B, Duran Harmon? Was it C, Jamal Adams? Or was it D, Jalen Ramsey? Give your comments down below. Get your guesses in. Let me know what you guys think. Again, don't cheat. This is pretty easy. I'm giving you the first and last name of some of these players so you guys can easily guess or Google it real quick. But don't. Play along at home. See if you can get the trivia question right without Googling, and we'll see if you guys are right or wrong. Give you a shout out on the next episode. Other than that, that's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and I'm out.